Hi, boys and girls. Welcome to our second lesson in Unit 7. We looked at taking rectangles and breaking them up into partitioned portions that were an example of a kind of array you could make within a rectangle. Today we're going to take a look at a different way of taking rectangles and divide them up or partition them into parts where we do not need to use rows and columns. So today, if you take a look at this very first part with me, turning in your books to page 375, we'll be taking a look at how do we make halves out of a rectangle. This really isn't new for most of you. I know most of you have done this for quite a while. I know many of you like to draw and so on. So let's take this first rectangle. What's one way to make it into half? Well, we can slice it straight across. Please go ahead and do that. And then we're going to go ahead and shade in half of that. So go ahead and shade in half of that rectangle, so that half is shaded and half is not. Well, how do I go about it a different way? If I draw a line going across again and do the bottom part, I really didn't do anything different. So that's not a new way. Shading the bottom part doesn't show a new way to make halves. So let's come up with another way. Another way would be start at the top and come down the middle. That would be similar to a column. So keep in mind then we're going to shade in 1/2 of that rectangle, like so. Well, what would be another way? I can't draw the line and shade the other side going the way, so it isn't going to be rows or columns I'm making when I divide this with a line. So what's another way you might be able to do it? Well, if I can't make rows and columns, I could start at a corner. So what you could do is start at the top corner and go diagonally to the bottom right corner. And then go ahead and shade in one part. Now, boys and girls, if I do this another time, I can't draw from the top corner to the bottom corner and then shade the top. That's still the same thing. So what would be another way? Well, I could start at the top right corner and come down diagonally to the bottom left corner. And then I could shade it in. So when I look at this, I have 4 different ways of making half from this rectangle. One with a horizontal line, making, of course, rows. A second way with vertical line to make columns. And then I would have 2 different diagonal lines starting at different corners and coming down. This is how I can show 4 different ways of making half of a rectangle. Now, boys and girls, it doesn't mean you're going to have 4 ways every time or more. You have to try it out and see what works and what doesn't. So as I go to this next one, it says to make 3/3. That means I need to make it into 3 equal parts. So I can't go down the middle, watch if I do, and then cut another piece because they are not equal. So that doesn't work. Thirds are tricky. As I said yesterday in my video, thirds can be very tricky to work with. It's not something our brain is used to seeing or picturing or using. So follow along as I show you how to make thirds. So for this, you want to go to the middle and then you want to go back a little bit to the left. This will make it look like you have a skinny piece and 2 wide pieces. Then you want to go to the middle and go a little bit to the right. You now have made 3 columns. So we're going to shade a third, not different colors. One, it says a third. So I'm doing one of them. Doesn't matter which one. I'm going to choose the one on the right. They're all equal shares. So I have 1/3 shaded, 1/3, and on second third, meaning 2/3 are not shaded. So let's go ahead and try it again. I can't do anything more from making columns going vertically. It would just look like this, and shading a different piece isn't making it different. So if I can't make columns, I make rows. But if I go across the middle, watch this. I can't do that. It doesn't give me thirds. Those aren't equal shares. So how do I do it? Go as if you were going to go to the middle, and go up slightly. Then draw your line across using your ruler. To make the second partition, to make a third, go to the middle again, go down slightly, and draw going across. Now, our lines aren't always going to be perfect, but they should be close. So as you can tell, I've got 3 equal shares, and I need to, again, shade in 1. I'm going to shade the middle one this time. Why? Why not? So I have 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and I've shaded 1/3, while I have 1/3 and another third, 2/3 unshaded. Well, let's see if we can make another one. Well, I can't do any more horizontal lines. It's going to look like this. I can't do any vertical lines. It'll look like this. So I guess I try some diagonal lines. Well, let's see. If I go from this corner to this corner, I don't think that's going to work too well. If I try to go somewhere else, they're not equal. They are not the same. It doesn't work. Well, let me try this. Let's see if I start at the other corner. Does that work? Maybe I start at this corner too. Hey, they're equal pieces. Are they thirds? Let me check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nah, those aren't thirds either. Thirds in rectangles can only be made in 2 ways, so that you have 3 equal shares. The other ones we just aren't going to use. Well, let's go down to the bottom here on page 375, and it asks us now to make fourths. It says show different ways and shade a fourth in each rectangle. All right, well, if I go up here to halves, I could go across, but that's only 2 equal pieces, so that's halves. I'm going to go in between the end and that middle line and go in between again. Now, I know you're going to say, but that's only 3 pieces. You're right. If I go down at the bottom and in between the middle line, and I go in the middle again and draw a line, I'm going to have 4 equal shares. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to shade this one because it says to shade 1. All right. Well, friends, if I try to go across again, it isn't going to work because I'm going to get the same thing. And shading a different colored piece does not show a different way. So if I can't make rows, I should try, that's right, columns. So here's what you want to do. Go from the top, go in the middle down like you did for halves. Similar to this one, you're going to go between the middle line you drew and the end, go in the middle of those 2, and then go to the right of that line and go in the middle of those 2. Now again, they're not going to be perfect because we're drawing them, but they should be close. Then it does say to shade 1 of those fourths. So I'll shade that. 1, 2, 3, 4 equal shares. Yeah, it's fours. So I did rows, I did columns. I can try diagonal lines now. Let me see. If I do what I did in halves, going from the top left corner to the bottom left corner. Oh, wait. That's only 2 pieces. Let me try going from the other side, top right corner to the bottom left. I have 4 triangles. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are going to be another way to show fours. So I'm going to shade 1 of them. Now I know a couple of you are saying, Mr. Fredericks, this piece doesn't look the same as that. You're right. It is a little different looking, but it's still going to be equal in the total amount as fours. There's going to be one more way. And guess what? It's not going to have diagonal lines at all, but it's going to use a vertical line and a horizontal line. And I bet some of you figured out already. So let's go ahead and make that vertical line starting in the middle going down and a horizontal line going across the middle. Now, boys and girls, and I'm going to shade in one of my fours. This is a little easier to see because they are all small rectangles that look very much the same. So those are 4 different ways to show fours. And we'll stop with that today. Now, if you can find some other ways, feel free to go ahead and put them down. But remember, they've got to be equal shares. Let's move on to page 376. At the top, you're going to be asked to make equal shares. It will tell you how many shares to make. For this first one, you're going to make 2 equal shares. You're going to show different ways and shade half of each square. I'm going to tell you there's 4 ways to do it. You're going to use all 4 mini squares to do that. Please go ahead and pause your video and give it a try. See how you do it. Then come back and check and see if you did it similar to what I did. Hey, welcome back. So let's check it out. I'm going to make some rows. Hey, there's half. I'm going to make some columns. There's half. I'm going to go from the top left and go to the bottom right. There's half. And I'm going to go from the top right to the bottom left. There's another half. All right, so I'm going to shade in half of each one of these now, leaving one half of each not shaded. Cool. All right, let's take a look at number 5. This one does not say to make 2 equal shares. It says to make 3 equal shares. We remember from yesterday, 3 means thirds. So we're going to show different ways to shade a third of each square. I'll give you a clue. You're not going to find a way to use all 4. But try and find out how many ways you discover you can make 3 equal shares. Pause the video and come back and see how I did it. Hey, welcome back. So let's take a look at how I'm going to do it. I'm going to go again, just like I did last time. I'm going to go with some rows, but I'm not going to start in the middle because I know that won't work. Similar to what I did on the last page with my rectangle, I'm going to make some rows that are going to break it into thirds. Cool, there it is. I got one. Now I'm going to try to make some columns. Now I can't go in the middle because that would give me halves. So move over a little bit. And I've made 3 columns. Cool. Diagonally. Let's see if that works. No, that's fourths. That's not thirds. Can't do that one. Well, let me try it this way. Hey, got 3 parts. Is it 3 equal shares? No. This one is definitely bigger than the other 2. So that doesn't work either. In fact, I have not discovered a way to make thirds using the square and breaking it up. So I've only discovered 2 ways to show thirds using rows and columns for that. Well, let's go on to number 6. For number 6, what we're going to do is we're going to make 4 equal shares. Fourths, as we learned yesterday. So we're going to discover different ways to do it. I'll tell you what, there's 8 squares, but I'm not sure if there's 8 ways to do it. I will give you a clue that there are 4 for sure ways that you should be able to figure out, maybe more. Pause the video, try, and when you have done the best you can, come back and see how I did it. Hey, welcome back. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make some rows. So similar to the rectangle on the last page, I'm going to go in the middle like I did for halves. And then I'm going to go above and below, breaking it into fourths. Cool, so rows worked. And now I'm going to try columns. So I'm going to use what I did from a rectangle on the last page and go like I did at the top for halves. And then I'm going to make 2 more lines, one on the left and one on the right of it. Cool, I got fourths. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, fourths. All right, let me take a moment to shade them in. If you didn't discover how to do that, you can use my ideas. This is new for a lot of you. I'm just going to shade the ones in on the side. Doesn't matter which one I shade. All right, well, let's see. Let me try a diagonal. I'm going to use what I did up here. I'm going to start at the top left and go to the bottom right corner. But that's only 2. Let me use what I had up here too. Hey, I discovered another way. I used 2 diagonal lines to make fourths. All right, now I told you I know 4 for sure ways. So I'm going to use one more. Well, let's see, this one. I can't use diagonals again. I'm going to get the same thing. I can't use only horizontal lines. I'll get the same as the first try. I can't use only vertical lines. I'll get the same as the second try. What if I use a combination of the 2? Let me try it. 1 horizontal, 1 vertical. Yeah, I discovered a 4th way. I'm going to shade in 1/4. Now, boys and girls, if you found some other ways, that's terrific. But remember, it's not just 4 pieces. It's 4 equal shares. Let's move on to some circles. Boys and girls, I'm going to have you do this with me. Circles can be easy in some ways, and then there's some tricky ones. So the first thing you know already is to make 2 equal shares, again, is halves. It says shade half of it. You can start at the top. You can go across the middle. You can even go diagonal. I'm going to start at the top and I'm going to make a vertical line down. I'm going to shade half of this circle. So there it is. You could do it another way, and if you think about it, the circle could get turned and that line would go with it. It would look similar. And if yours is different, you can turn your book so it looks like mine without erasing and changing anything. Let's try another one. I'm going to skip number 8 and I'm going to go all the way to number 9. It says to make 4 equal shares. I know that is fourths. I'm going to go again, and this time I'm going to use that vertical line starting at the top going down. But I can't use another vertical. That won't work. So I'm going to use a horizontal going across the middle. Kind of make it a plus inside of it. Then I'm going to shade one of those because now I've shown 1/4. Why did I skip number 8? Because it says make 3 equal shares. This is the trickiest one of all when it comes to circles. Thirds are hard to do. So here's what you want to do, boys and girls. You want to start in the middle of your circle. That's right, you heard me, the middle, not anywhere on the edge, the middle. Put your pencil in the middle, and what I want you to do is I want you to start from the middle and draw a line straight down. Then I want you to go back to the middle, touching the top of where you had that line. And you're going to draw out at a diagonal, sort of like a Y. That's going to be a fat Y. Go back to where those 2 line segments meet in the middle again and draw the other side to make that Y. Now that you've done that, you'll see we have 1, 2, 3 pieces. It kind of looks like a giant slice of pizza to me. And now we have made thirds. That is the most challenging of them all. Now, boys and girls, I know there's a little more on your page, but please feel free to go ahead and do what I'm doing. We are not going to work on that today. That will be something I do with you together, but I can't do it with you just using the computer. However, I am going to bring a friend of ours. He's kind of a confused kind of friend, so he can help us really think more about what we're drawing when we're drawing equal shares of halves, thirds, and fourths. Here he is, Puzzle Penguin. Puzzle Penguin wants to show thirds of a rectangle. This is what he drew. Can you help Puzzle Penguin? Take a look. Is that right? Is that really thirds? Are they 3 equal shares? What was Puzzle Penguin's mistake? Go ahead and tell a brother, sister, mom, or dad, or if nobody else is around, a pet or a stuffed animal, what you think. What was Puzzle Penguin's mistake? Pause the video and come back and hear what I have to think about it. Hey, welcome back. So here's what I was thinking. I'm looking at this. These are triangles. They're all 3 triangles. I see that. But I can see that this triangle is half of the whole shape. You can't be half of a rectangle and also be a third. Remember, thirds or 3 equal shares is not the same as 3 pieces. It's 3 equal pieces, and that one's definitely not equal to the other 2. So I know that Puzzle Penguin's mistake was not having equal shares. Now that you've finished our lesson today, I'd like you to go ahead and go to your form, answer the questions the best you can, and submit it when you're finished.